Hey you guys, welcome to today's video. We are going to be ranking all of the palettes that I tried in 2022, and holy shit, there are a freaking lot. A lot of them were palettes that I bought in 2021 and then I didn't even use until 2022. A lot of these have also been decluttered. So if they've been decluttered, I will pop a photo up so you can see which one I'm talking about. If I still have them in my collection, then I'll hold them up and show them to you guys. But essentially, I'm going to be talking about what I tried, what I liked, what I didn't like, and all of that. There are 44 palettes. 44. No wonder I felt like I didn't use the stuff that I loved this year because I tried so much new shit. And we'll talk about that. I want to do some like reflections at the end. I do highly recommend you grab yourself a beverage, a snack, whatever, because it's going to be a long one. So saddle up, bitch. Let's go. Okay, so starting with last place, number 44. The worst palette I felt like I tried this year was the Pat McGrath Moonlit Seduction. I'm not going to hit on it too hard because I chat about it in a few different videos and I'm sure you guys are tired of hearing about it. Essentially, this is a $130 palette that has, in my opinion, mattes that are absolute trash, by far the worst mattes that I've ever used. And then it has really subpar shimmers, and then it has some really nice special shades, if you will, but in my opinion, those are pretty comparable to any kind of indie brand. So for the price point, it was terrible. And just in general, it's not, the formula is not good. It's not it for me. So yeah, I just didn't want to hit too hard on it and sound like a broken record, but this was definitely the most disappointing thing that I tried in 2022. Next up, in 43rd place, we have the Adept and Heather Austin palette. This is not one that I saw coming quite literally at all. I was gifted this by one of you and I'm so grateful for that, and I'm so sad that I don't love it more. But the thing is, this, like, the mattes are not that great, especially this green, and the majority of these palettes will have videos filmed with them, and you can search them on my channel if you want to see some looks I did with them and maybe what it looked like to get to this point. This green matte here in particular was like the worst. And it swatches out beautifully. It looks great, but once you get that on the eye, it is one of the patchiest gals I've ever used, and I hated it. It was terrible. Now, I was gonna look past that, whatever, because there are so many beautiful shimmers in this palette, like, quite obviously. So I was like, yeah, whatever, like, the mattes are meh, but I definitely think it would be worth keeping for the shimmers because they are absolutely stunning. They're all duo to multi-chromes. Really, really beautiful. But I think that this formula is just like too soft for my eyes or something, because I experienced pretty substantial creasing with all of them that I tried. And I tried Video Chat, Passport. I think the only ones I didn't try were Smith. And that might have been the only one I didn't try, you guys. But yeah, they're so pretty. But I experienced really substantial creasing, and I'm just not someone who fucks around with creasy eyeshadow, because when I wear my makeup, I typically am wearing it all day at work, so I just don't mess around with that. I tried a few different application methods to try and reduce the amount of creasing that I had on my eyes while using these, but it just didn't work. So I think overall the matte formula is not good. And then I think that the special shades just are not compatible with my eyes. I reached out to a few friends that have a lot more Adept and a lot more experience with Adept, and I was like, you know, what do you do? What are your application methods? Yada, yada, yada. And I tried similar ones and they didn't work for me and they work for them. So I think that the formula just might be too soft for my eyes. So unfortunately, this was just not it for me, which really sucks because it is pretty. But yeah, so 43. Number 42 was the ColourPop and Winnie the Pooh collab. Luke had gotten me this and I was really excited because I love Winnie the Pooh. However, I'm not sure if ColourPop like had changed their formulation or what was going on with that. The mattes were okay, but the shimmers were horrid. They were like dry, lackluster. They literally brought nothing to the table. I was so disappointed in this palette, you guys. Like, I like couldn't even believe it. I tried it a few times just because I was like, what is happening? Like, and I mean, I hadn't bought from ColourPop in a really, like over a year at that time. So I don't know if they like changed their formulation or what happened, but this was absolute trash. I don't support ColourPop anymore, so like I won't have to worry about that again. But yeah, it was like so bad. The next palette in 41st place is the Tarte Sunrise palette, and this was a BoxyCharm exclusive. Hopefully I'll be able to find a photo of it. I did already give it away to a friend because this just like was not it for me. I had really high hopes for it because I was like, okay, this is a really pretty and neutral color story, something I could use daily, really easy to pair and grab mattes with. However, like the color story of the mattes looked good, but when you got them on the eye, the majority of them looked the same. So they lacked a lot of dimension and depth. Like, I just felt like every look I did with it looked the exact same and it looked meh. Very lackluster. The shimmers didn't really, in my opinion, have the kind of pop I would have liked them to have. It really was just a very underwhelming palette situation, and I knew that I would not reach for that over a lot of my other palettes that I really love, so I went ahead and already gave that one away. In place number 40, I had one of the Kaja Bento stacks, which my friend sent to me, and I'm like so grateful because I wanted to try it. It was the Peach Madeline one, and so 2 out of the 3 shades were absolutely beautiful. I really loved the tone of the matte, and then one of the shimmers was very thin, sparkly, gorgeous kind of topper situation. But the actual shimmer, like I think it was the one on the top, was very thick, very flaky. It was not consistent with the other ones or even consistent with the other stack that I have when it comes to formulation. So I don't really know what was going on with it, if it was something different they were like toying around with or what. But because like one of the 3 shades was not it for me, I went ahead and I passed it on to another friend. I don't know, because I don't get PR from Kaja, so I haven't really tried a lot from them. I've bought 1 stack for myself, and then I've been sent a few things in friend mail, and that's how I've tried a lot of my Kaja, is my friends are on their PR list and they're so generous and they share with me. But so I don't know like which is the more consistent formulation, if it's like the one that I have that is in, I think it's Smolder season, or if it's more of like the Peach Madeline situation. I'm not sure, but that one just was not it for me in terms of formula on the top. Under 40, here we go. 39. I'm trying to do this quick, so I'm trying. I'm a chatty gal, so but I'm trying to be really mindful, you guys. The Nabla Side by Side palette. This I'm still a little sad about because, and I don't know if it's because I had mine for so long before I actually used it. I probably had it a year and a half before I actually used it, you guys. And this one was so pretty. I love the color story. It was really gorgeous. The shimmers were really nice. It had a couple that were really stand out to me. And then when, you know, I'm doing this kind of video, I think about them then, but they had some really beautiful shimmers. But for me, the mattes just were not it. They were very dry, a little chalky, pretty patchy on the lid, and it seemed like a lot of other people didn't have this issue. So I'm honestly just wondering if the formula of mine had gone off, and I like didn't, you know, that's like what happened. But for me, it was very underwhelming. I have tried other Nabla palettes, and for some reason, Nabla eyeshadow just isn't it for me, unfortunately. I wish that it was, but there's just something about it that doesn't slap for me. So this one is no longer obviously in my collection. I decluttered it probably at the beginning of the year. But yeah, the mattes just were not it. The next palette, number 38, is the ABH and Jackie Aina. What this one really came down to was color story, and I think mostly because of my skin tone. It wasn't really made for people with my skin tone, which is totally fine. But for me, the color story, once I got it in person, the shadows looked 100 times more beautiful in person, I will say that. But it just was hard. I had a really difficult time thinking what to pair with what. That it was very pigmented, very vibrant, which is great, but not really my preference. There's just something about it that wasn't slapping for me. And I really think that over this year, which you'll see, I tried a few other ABH palettes as well. And I've really just come to think that the ABH formula is not it for me, which is fine because they're a brand that I no longer support anyways. But I think the mattes are okay. And I don't really like the shimmer formula. And I think that's my biggest thing with like ABH in general. But it is just very like thick and chunky, and it's not what I prefer. So I wasn't into this palette, which leads me into 37, which was the ABH Soft Glam. This is one that I honestly thought would be like a home run for me, and I would really love and like use the shit out of. And I did really enjoy the mattes in this palette more than the Jackie Aina palette. But again, it was the shimmers. They were just so like thick, and I don't like that. I don't. I was able to give this to a friend that I thought would use it a lot more, and it's my understanding that she has, so I'm glad we were able to find a home for it. But it ranked so low for me just because I don't like the shimmer formula, and overall I felt like super underwhelmed. There's just so much better out there now, and you know, it just wasn't it. Number 36 was the KVD Edge of Reality palette, and I actually expected to really enjoy this one more than I did because I'd seen some other people do some swatches and play around with it a little bit, and it looked very sparkly, very beautiful, but it just wasn't that for me. The dark colors were a little bit muddy, and the undertone they had a black base, which I don't really prefer a black base. I think that black bases are kind of hard to work with. So the mattes for me were really nice. They were buttery. They were really good. But the shimmers were just pretty meh, middle of the road. Not something that I could see myself actively reaching for. And the thing is too, I don't even know, you guys, if that formula is even still made, because KVD has just rebranded so much that I don't know what's what or what comes from which rebrand. Like, I literally don't know. But this one was just pretty like mediocre to me. So that's why it's in 36. The same with number 35. It is the Editor palette from Ciate London. And I did not think this was bad. I did enjoy this palette, but compared to what I have, these shimmers were just very lackluster, very muted. So if you're into that kind of a shimmer that is very just, you know, muted, has a little bit of something to it, then you would probably really like this palette. And that's the thing. It's not that I didn't like it. It's just that I know I wouldn't reach for it over my other ones because I enjoy a little more oomph from my shimmers. So that is why it came in that place for me. Next was the KKW Beauty Classic Volume 2. This one, the shimmers weren't as sparkly as they had been in some of her other palettes. Like I personally really enjoyed the Volume 1, and then the Camo, and then Blossom. But I felt like these shimmers weren't as sparkly. I don't know. Overall, the formula was nice. And I think for me, it's just because I don't support KKW anymore. And I'm just so blah with like Kim that I didn't want it anymore. It didn't bring me the same kind of joy. I didn't think the formula was bad or anything. I just think that I don't want to support the founder anymore. And that's okay. And that's why I had to go. So it was pretty middle of the line formulation wise. The next two, 33 and 32, are both going to be from Huda Beauty. And the first one is the Desert Dusk palette. And I thought that this color story was beautiful, and I thought that I would use it a lot more than I did. However, once I started to play with it, I found that, well, it made me see how far her formulation has really come over the years, because Desert Dusk and Rose Gold both are older palettes, and they don't pack the same punch as her newer big palettes, like, you know, Rose Quartz or Mercury Retrograde. I found the mattes to be really nice, blendable. I think that they're a little bit drier than the newer matte formulation, but they're not bad. And with the shimmers, I just felt them to be really under par compared to what we know in her newer palettes. And I knew her newer palettes before I knew her older palettes. So for me, in comparison to her newer big palettes that I have, these just like miss the mark, and you can tell how much her formulation has come along. And I knew that I would not be reaching for those Huda palettes over her new ones, because the new ones just slap so much harder. So that's why they were pretty far down for me. The next palette is from Lunar Beauty, and it is the Nude Prism palette. I actually just, well, this month I did a 3 looks 1 palette with it, and I'm still like, I'm sad about this, because the color story is, when you swatch it out, it is very warm, and I guess I just didn't get that from like initially looking at it, which maybe that's my fault. So I had a little bit of trouble like pairing things up in terms of color story and what I wanted to use with the mattes. Overall, I thought the mattes performed really well in terms of formulation, except for this black. This is the worst black I've ever tried in my whole life, you guys. It is dry, chalky, crusty, no pigmentation, patchy, terrible, so terrible. But the thing that I love about it is this shimmer formula, I think, is so nice, but you lack so much dimension, you guys. Like, a lot of these shimmers are so close in tone and in formulation that on the eye they're gonna look super similar. So I don't know. For me, I was expecting this to easily be top 5 because I love these kinds of tones and whatnot, but it wasn't, because I just don't feel like they pair well together. You don't get a good amount of dimension. I actually thought about depotting the shimmers because I think they're so beautiful, but I really just think that would be, I don't know what I want to do with it yet, but I almost feel like it would be a waste because I don't think I would go out of my way to reach for it. But the packaging is beautiful on this one. The formula, like with the, I guess not even really the formula, but the color story of the mattes is just not what I had anticipated, which is why it's linked so low, and because of the black. That black like sent me on a little bit of a rage. All right, next up in 30th, we have the Totally Tubular palette by Lorella, and this one, the formulation is so good. Lorella is like a brand that I don't really hear anyone talk about, and I had gotten a few of their palettes in a Try Beauty box, and their formula is so good. The mattes, the shimmers, everything is quite beautiful. The reason it's ranked so low for me is just like, this isn't a color story that I'm going to use or reach for. In fact, it's no longer in my collection, which is why there's, you know, I'd had it for a year and I'd used it maybe twice to create content, and that was it. And I'm really trying to get away from keeping stuff around that I don't actively use. But I do highly recommend the Lorella formula if you're curious or you're wondering, whatever. Like, their formula is so good. If you can find a color story that you love and you think is for you, I highly recommend that brand. Now, finally, we're in the top 30. Number 29, I chose the Nomad. It was their something Express. I will pop it up here. This was gifted to me in friend mail, which I was so grateful for because I've been wanting to try Nomad formula forever, and it really didn't let me down. The formulation was really good. The mattes were definitely some of the best I think that I've ever used. The shimmer formula was really nice. We had some really sparkly ones. The reason why it came down to number 29 for me was just the color story. I didn't feel like it felt cohesive or workable at all. Like, it felt super random to me. And I feel like the same thing from their Christmas launch this year. It just didn't feel cohesive at all. And for me, I don't want to have to, I know some people really enjoy a challenging color story to challenge them. I'm not really one of those people because a lot of the time when I'm doing my makeup, I'm not just doing it for YouTube. I'm most of the time doing my makeup to be wearing it to work all day, whatever. And when I get up in the morning to do my makeup, I don't want a challenge. I want something I can do, is quick, and it looks beautiful. That is what I like. So for me, it was just the color story was too challenging. So that is why I did not like it. Next up, number 28 was the Too Faced Natural Nudes. And again, like a lot of these palettes here in the middle aren't ones that were bad. And they're just ones that were kind of meh. And that's how I felt about this one. I did use it quite a bit. I really enjoyed the mattes in it. The shimmers were just a little bit lackluster, more middle of the lane, really muted, which is fine. Not really my preference, but I did get a decent amount of use out of it. And the reason I decluttered it was because there are palettes that I would rather reach for. And I had a friend in mind that really enjoys, like, that is her preference when it comes to makeup. So I just felt like that palette would be more appreciated and more loved in her collection. So that is why, and that's the thing about this video too, you guys, if palettes that you love are palettes that I don't, it's probably because we have different preferences. Like, I could see how this Natural Nudes palette could be someone's number 1 or 2 in their ranking easily. It's not a bad palette. It just doesn't meet my preferences and what I love and what I enjoy from even just like a nude palette. So it wasn't bad. It just, it didn't like slap the way that I wanted it to. So yeah, that is why that's in my friend's collection now and she loves it. Next up is number 27 and it is the Natasha Denona Star Palette. This one is a little bit newer to my collection, but I have used it quite a bit because I really wanted to formulate my thoughts. I did a Natasha Denona ranking, and then obviously I did this as well. And honestly, like, the mattes in this are good. I really do enjoy them. I didn't have any problems with that. I guess my biggest beef with this palette is that this shade and this shade are like pretty much identical. And I don't know how I did not notice that until I got it. And then I was like, what the hell? They're literally the same, Megan. Like, it is so just like, you know. So that was the one thing for me. And then the really big issue for me is this shimmer, and this shimmer. They are, I don't want to say bad, but I want to say bad. The thing is, this is the only time she's used this shimmer formula, probably because of the feedback that it got. Because when I got this palette, I was like, maybe I got a bad one. So I did a little bit of research on YouTube, was looking around for what people had to say about it, whatever. And it seemed that this was a pretty consistent complaint. These shimmers are different. They are dry and they have so much kick up and fallout. Like, I don't know if you can see that in the pan, just from those little swirls. It's literally crazy. And when you get them on, you know, the lid, they look really pretty. They have these big sparkles in them. And I was like, oh, wow, like, okay. But the thing is, because they're so like chunky and whatever, you get a lot of fallout on your face throughout the day. And I don't like that. I've been trying to figure out a way to combat that kind of fallout because I think they're really beautiful on the eye. I just can't with the fallout. So I've been trying to work around a way for that to see if I can do something, but that's why it ranks so low for me, is because I know this palette's can discontinue now, but it was a very expensive palette, and I think that if I would have paid, you know, full price even for it brand new and to have it like doing that, like I would have been freaking pissed. I mean, I'm still pissed because it's discontinued. I paid a pretty penny for it. But I just, yeah, I was so like thrown and disappointed. I was like, what is this? Like, this shimmer formula ain't it, folks. It ain't it. Next is number 26, and it was the Violet Voss Wild Delilah palette. I thought this was really nice formulation wise. The mattes were great. The shimmers were really beautiful on the eye. Ultimately, I just ended up decluttering it because I'm not super into greens, and I had a lot of green palettes, so it really just didn't make the cut when it came to my favorites, is what happened with that one. But the formula was really good. I haven't tried a ton from Violet Voss, but I did really like that one, and I think if the formula is consistent, I think it was a really nice palette. I can't remember if I think I gave that one away or resold it or something, I don't know. But yeah, it was good. It didn't, you know, hold its own for me. Next is the Artemis palette from Alter Ego. This is the dupe for the Metropolis, and it came in 25th place because, again, I think this is one of those kind of middle of the lane formulations. I think that it blends out really nice. I'm actually really surprised at the quality of the cream to powders, especially for the price in that palette. It was really enjoyed, really loved. The mattes were great, cream to powders were great, the shimmers were nice. They could be a little bit more on the muted side, but if you're looking for a dupe to the Metropolis, I highly recommend it. It's a fraction of the price. The color story is very similar. Of course, the formula is not the same, but the formula was good. I did enjoy it. It just, you know, it's not, I mean, now that I have Metropolis, I didn't need them both, you know, so that's why that one's no longer in my collection. But I do think that the Shop Alter Ego formula is good. So if you want to try it out for like a dupe color story, I do highly recommend doing that. I also this year tried the Beauty Bay Wilderness palette, and this was decluttered to me from a friend. And this is really nice. For me, the reason it's like, what is it, 24th is just for color story purposes. I don't really use red at all, and you know, we have these 3 reds down here. I'm also not someone that wears greens and blues a ton, which is the majority of this palette, but the formulation is really, really nice. And I really love that about it. Your shimmers are so pigmented and sparkly. I didn't have any issues with the mattes at all. Overall, this is a really, really nice palette that I would recommend. It's just like so low for me again because like it's not a color story that I reach for that often, which is fine. But it's one that like I still keep in my collection because it offers that kind of versatility and it has a really, really beautiful formula. Number 23 was the Lawless One Baby palette. I did get this in a subscription box. And again, I thought this palette was actually really, really good. The formulation was very pigmented. The color story was beautiful. The mattes were really nice. The shimmer was stunning and paired really well with all of the mattes. This is one that I actually really, really enjoyed, but I didn't see myself reaching for, so I passed it along to someone who I thought would appreciate it so much more. But really, this palette was like a smash hit, and I'm kind of surprised that it didn't have more hype around it than it did because I don't have one bad thing to say about it. I thought it was beautiful. I could just dupe it in my collection because I have a larger collection. And I felt like someone else would just appreciate it more. But realistically, the formula on that was very good. The color story was very good. It's one that I really enjoyed, and I would definitely recommend it. Number 22 was the Natasha Denona Mini Biba. I think this is nice, and it's so weird because I always wanted to declutter it because it's so basic. But then I do a look with it, and it just like knocks my socks off. Like, there's something about like the tones in this when they play together. They look absolutely stunning on the eye and, you know, on my skin tone, whatever. But this is actually very beautiful. And it seems kind of, like I said, like a middle of the lane palette. But once you get it on your eyes, it just does something. And I don't know what the something is, but it just does something. You get, let's see, 3 mattes, a cream to powder, and a shimmer. The shimmer in here is really pretty, really reflective. The formula is good, consistent with Natasha Denona. This is one that I really, really love. It's just one that I don't like use that often, which is why it's ranked a little bit lower. The next one was the Glam Light Dirty Martini, and this is number 21. This formula is so nice. This came down to color story, which is why it's ranked where it is. Gosh, these shimmers are literally so nice, you guys. Like, look at that. When you get them on the eye, they are so sparkly and reflective. They are absolutely beautiful. It's just one of those things where, like, I don't use these kind of colors and tones that often, but the formulation is great. The mattes are very pigmented. They blend out really well. I literally don't have a bad thing to say about it. It's just not a color story that I reach for, which is why it was 21. Now, number 20 is going to be, oh, I was like, oh my God, where is it? The Melt Gemini palette. I love the packaging on this. I don't, like, it's not that I necessarily have a problem with this. I think that the Leo shade, this dark green here, can be a little bit temperamental. And it does only come with 2 shimmers. So if you're a shimmer lover, just know that. But other than that, I don't have any problems with any of the other mattes or anything. This shimmer right here is a little bit on the chunkier side, but it can be smoothed out. And honestly, it kind of just came where it was because, again, I'm not in a place right now where I'm reaching for a ton of greens, but I do really enjoy the looks that I can get out of this. And I have, like, come to love this palette. It's one that I should use more. The quality is really great, but again, sorry, I got a text. But yeah, I don't know. It's just one that I don't reach for as much as I thought I would. And I think it's because I'm going through my weird phase with green. But overall, this is a good palette. I do enjoy the quality. Now we are in the top 20, folks. And number 19 is going to be the Glam Light Chocolate Martini palette. This one is beautiful. Again, nothing bad to say about it. I just am a piece of shit and I don't really use this color story. I want to use it more though. Look at that. So pretty. These shimmers are stunning. The mattes are really great. I've filmed some looks with it. I really do enjoy them. And I would assume that it's consistent with what Glam Light normally does. I mean, these two are consistent within their formulation. They're really, really nice. So yeah, I definitely want to get some more use out of this one, as I should. I mean, it's in my top 20, so something I should be reaching for. And I think now that I've really just taken this year to gut my collection, I really feel like a lot of my palettes that I do love will be getting a lot more use this year, which is really, really exciting. The next palette was the Natasha Denona Mini Star. I thought that this one was really nice, a really cohesive color story. It took a lot of the big players from the larger Natasha Denona Star palette and put them in a smaller one, which I thought was really, really nice. I don't have it anymore because I knew someone who wanted it, and I just felt like I had those colors already in my thing. But I did feel like this was nice. It was really beautiful. I liked it more than I thought I would in terms of color story. It looked so much different in person than it did online. Super pretty. Really, really enjoyed it. The next one is the Natasha Denona Metropolis palette. And it's number 17 because I don't really feel like I've had a chance to play with it a lot yet. It's one that's a little bit newer to my collection. I will say though, already the shimmers are much more sparkly than in the Artemis palette, which I really, really like. I do think I want to rearrange this one again though, because I don't know, I feel like there's a lot more warmer tones in this than I originally anticipated. So I feel like I want to disperse them a little more differently. But yeah, this palette is very warm, almost orange leaning, which isn't really something I'm into anymore either. So that's why it's ranked as low as it is. And I just feel like I definitely need to play with it a little more, but formulation is good. Number 16 is the Item Beauty in My Element palette. I got this in a subscription box and it actually has kind of knocked my socks off. It is so nice. I really enjoy this color story. You can get very warm or very cool tone looks out of it. And honestly, the shimmers are wow. Like, I was not expecting that, but the shimmers are really beautiful. This palette is so gorgeous, and it's a little bit more on the affordable side. I think it retails for like $20 plus. But it is really nice. The packaging is really cute. It's one that I've been really enjoying, so that's kind of why I was ranked so high as well. And then now we're in the top 15. So number 15 for me was the Element True Nude palette. And I picked this one, and you guys might be thinking, wow, this is fucking basic. It is. And what I like about it is not only like a really great like potential companion palette, but it also does some really beautiful looks on its own when you're coming to just, you know, true nudes. And I think it's going to be an absolutely perfect palette to travel with, because you get all of these mattes with these different tones, and then you get this like one shimmer. But I would also bring like a topper. That's how I like to travel. I like to travel with something easy, all matte, and then I bring a topper. So this for me is just going to be such a functional, sustainable palette, which is why it's ranked so high, because it's so good. Next up, we have the Patrick Ta Major Dimensions 2 palette, and this came in 14th place. And the reason why is like, for the most part, the formula is the same as the OG. I will say the creams in here are much more softer, emollient than in the OG palette. But for me, this also just leans, I don't know, it leans more brown than I thought, which is really nice. But at the end of the day, I just feel like I'm still going to reach for the OG one over this. Nothing wrong with it. Nothing wrong with the formula. I think that it's beautiful. I just don't think that it's one that I in particular am going to reach for over like the OG one, which is why it's ranked so low. But what I did like about this palette was that this whole row here is a really beautiful shimmers and toppers, whereas we didn't really get that in the OG one. But I mean, overall, I did really enjoy this palette. I do really like this palette. But I just feel like it's not one that I'm going to reach for a ton, which is why it is ranked number 14. Number 13 is the Natasha Denona Sunset palette. This one is really nice. The formula I find is a little bit different than I'm used to from Natasha. The formula overall is just, I don't know if this is the right word, but it's a little drier / stiffer, but like not in a bad way. Everything still works beautifully. I don't have any issues with it or anything like that. The color story is like pretty warm, obviously, which is kind of why it's ranked a little bit lower, because I'm really weird about really warm tones right now. I don't know, but I love this pop of yellow in here. And then I think you also just, you know, you get some really nice shimmers as well. So I do think that this palette is very beautiful. I've really been enjoying it. I'm glad I got it. It was like, I got it when it was like half off or whatever. So yeah, I've really been enjoying this one. Next up is the Natasha Denona Mini Retro. This is ranked number 12 just because I don't really use this color story that often, but this color story is beautiful and super unique to my collection. These shimmers in here are so beautiful, sparkly, reflective, and I just love the tones of the mattes in here. In my opinion, they're really unique, something different. They bring something to my collection, which can be hard to do at this point. But I really love this one, which is why it's ranked number 12. I do need to use it more, but overall quality is really good. Color story is really beautiful and really unique, so I love that about it. Number 11 is the Huda Kaki Haze palette. This is newer to me, but I've created a couple looks with it and I really, really enjoy it. And I really like that the formula in this is a little bit different than her 9 pans. Like, look at that. I feel like we don't usually get that kind of formulation in these. Oh God, that green. Oh, so pretty. But the mattes are great. They blend out great. And the color story works so well together. It's very cohesive. And you can get a little bit of fun, different stuff up here, in my opinion, with those two shimmers. This actually like really surprised me in the ranking of how high up it is, but I really feel like this could just be a great staple palette. 9 pan, it's one of her better 9 pans that I've tried in my opinion. Really, really like it. All right, now we are in the top 10. We made it. Number 10, boom. I picked the Huda Beauty Empowered palette. The reason I picked this one is because okay, it's a little bit of a mess. We're gonna ignore that. Why is it such a mess? Hang on here. Guess I'll just, oh my God, and I almost dropped it. Why is it a mess? I don't know, I just dropped it. But I will swatch some of these for you real quick since they're on my hand. But the shimmers in this palette are seriously so beautiful. I really love how Huda chooses to play with different kind of formulations and textures. That is like one of the things I always look forward to her holiday big palette releases, because you really never know what you're gonna get, and I think that is so fun. I also, this Manifest shade here is so unique and different and beautiful at the top there. Just because the formula is so weird but so good. And then you also get 2 gel liners in here, or cream shadows, which I really, really like. The color story did lean a little bit warmer than I would have liked or anticipated. Like when I get these shades on the eyes, they're more of like an orange, which I would have preferred more of like a true neutral kind of situation. But I really do love that side of the palette. And I think the different formulas and textures in this are just beautiful. Next up, number 9, we have the Natasha Denona Retro palette, which I could actually see this moving up, but I haven't played with it enough yet. This is gorgeous. We have some super beautiful, sparkly shimmers in here that I love when she does that. This palette also has a really nice range, in my opinion. You get a lot of really good depth out of it. And I love just like the true mauve-y berry tones. I'm not super into like pink, but I do like, you know, mauve-y berry tones. Like I do enjoy that. So love, love, love this one, and I could definitely see it moving up in my ranking. Number 8 is going to be the Natasha Denona Glam palette. This is one I never even thought I would purchase, but I'm so glad that I did, because it's so much more beautiful in person and on the eyes. I always get so many compliments when I wear this, because these like shimmers have such a beautiful sparkle, and I have blue eyes, so this whole thing really just complements my eyes so freaking well. And I don't typically wear a lot of cool tones, but when I do, this is what I reach for, and I feel like it looks really good. It's not an intimidating cool tone palette. It's a very like natural vibes cool tone palette, and I think that that is what I really, really love about it. I also got the Natasha Denona Gold palette this year secondhand, and I could see this moving up as well when I get more time to play with it. But for right now, it's going to be number 7. And honestly, the shades that I've used the most are these 3 and this one. They create the most gorgeous look, and it's something about the tones honestly just play so well on my skin tone and on my eye color that it is so pretty. Like, and I'm not a person, like, I will repeat looks, but every time I go to this, that's the look I want to do, because I feel like it just looks so beautiful. And this shimmer is just so sparkly on the lid. I mean, obviously you have a lot of other really great shimmers in here as well. I just haven't had the chance to really try them out and dig into it, because like when I'm ranking my palettes, I look for, you know, full cohesiveness and the color story and what I like. But yeah, really enjoyed this one. All right, number 6 is going to be the Natasha Denona My Dream palette. I really love this one. The color story is just like perfect. It looks so much better and cohesive in person than it does when you're looking at any kind of picture or video. I was like kind of on the fence about it, but then when I got it and I opened it, I was like, oh wow, this is stunning. I think that it works so well together. I love that you can get like the most natural blown out look with it, but you can also get something very vampy, very edgy. She also, I feel like, played with a little bit of some different formulas. Like this Invention shade here is very different from what I've seen from her, and the Vision Duochrome is so stunning. This is, yeah, well, number 6, but I really love this and what she did with it, and I highly recommend it. Like, it's one that I want to use all the time. Okay, we are into the top 5, and here's what I feel like they would be. But it's hard, but this is what I think the top 5 would be, you guys. Okay, you may have noticed we have a guest. We have people over, and I am trying to get this video done so that I can go hang out. But Tito, if you guys don't know, love him, but he just gets so scared and he barks so much. We adopted him. He came from like a really bad place. So he's just out there just, okay, which you guys can probably hear at points. And I'm just over it. So I went and picked him up, and hopefully this will help. It's not going to help for swatching, but hopefully he'll be quiet. So number 5, and this is so unexpected, is the Tom Ford Quad in the shade, in the Body Heat one. This, oh my god, you guys, I quite literally cannot put it down. It is so freaking good, and I was so unsure of it and like if I would even like it, how it would go down, whatever. I had no idea because the formula is so different. It is like this weird like powdered metallic kind of situation, and the color story is stunning. It looks so good, so reflective on the eyes. Like, I quite literally cannot put it down, and I love pairing them all together. What's going on with your eye? Are you okay? I couldn't tell if he's like sleeping or if his eye hurts. I don't know. But I freaking love this, and I've not been able to put it down. I just love pairing like this light shade with one of these shades, or my favorite is probably like this, and this. Like, it is so beautiful, so gorgeous on the eyes, you guys. And I am aware that this price point of these is stupid. $90, stupid. I picked it up with a gift card, and I'm so glad I did. And you can tell how much I've used it already. Like, I'm wearing the embossing away. Like, this one is so beautiful, and it is so easy and quick to reach for. When you want something absolutely stunning, timeless, elegant, and just like, I used 2 shades. Like, so good. I've added 3 more of these to my wish list because I am just so in awe about how much I freaking love this. Number 4 is going to be another quad, and this is the Charlotte Tilbury Pillow Talk Dreams palette, and I am so obsessed with this one as well. One of the things I really love about it is the tones of these mattes here. They just look so gorgeous on my skin tone, you guys. Actually, when I use this, I typically just do a matte look, and I just use these 2. And then if I want to spice it up, I'll do like a little bit of that shimmer action there. But the tones of these mattes are just so yummy and beautiful. I absolutely freaking love them. I actually use this for like over a week straight, kind of similar to this. And I had to force myself to freaking put it down. Honestly, I feel like this might end up edging this one out, but both of these are so good if you're looking for like a quad that is simple, really easy to go to and get done in the morning. Those are the ones. They are so good. Number 3 is going to be the Natasha Denona face palette in light. I honestly have just loved the crap out of this year, and I'm so glad I decided to get it because when I swatched it in the store, it was like not good. Like, the shimmers felt super dry, lackluster, and now I'm thinking it's probably just because it had been sitting out. But the shimmers on this are so sparkly and unique, you guys. They're different, in my opinion, from a lot of the other shimmers you see in her palettes. Plus, the blush is just one of my favorites, you guys. It is absolutely beautiful. It's such a gorgeous everyday neutral tone blush. I love this because you can honestly get so many different looks just out of those 5 eyeshadows right there. It's really easy to use. You can get something very glam, something very muted, and you don't have to put a lot of thought into it, which is honestly what I really, really love about this. I don't use the highlight much, but it is a really gorgeous inner corner or brow bone. Very, very reflective. But yeah, this is one that I love, and just like, it is the most perfect, convenient thing. I want the dark one too. It is so, so good. Okay, so you guys are probably wondering what the fuck number 1 and 2 are, because I just like pretty much went through a lot of my favorites, and a lot of them are more neutral, wearable, etc. And I think that these 2 are gonna shock you a little bit, and they shocked me a little bit too. But honestly, the formula on them is so stand out that I feel like they couldn't not be 1 and 2. So number 2 is going to be the Oden's Eye Soulmane 2 palette. One, this packaging is just so top-notch, beautiful, second to none. They did such a beautiful job with it. And then the color story is just stunning. Like, this to me is such like spring and summer vibes. I love it. I'm gonna see if he'll be okay if I just put him down because my arm. But it is so freaking gorgeous, you guys. I have never tried like pastels like this one and this one that are so pigmented and vibrant on the eye. It is just insane. I did a blue look with this, and like, I don't even wear blue, but I was like, oh my god, so inspired by the color story. The shimmers are like so sparkly. Like, it is just, I can't even like put it into words like how just like good the formula is. If you have Oden's Eye, then you know. This is my first Oden's Eye palette, and I am just wowed. I cannot wait to try more from the brand. I think that when we get into spring, this palette's going to be beat to shit because it is just so beautiful. The formula is so good. The way that the mattes could hold their pigmentation and not get muddy or patchy or anything like that while like achieving a seamless blend was just mind-blowing to me, especially with this really dark color here, because that can just be like hard to do or something that like I find like a lot of palettes struggle with. But this is just freaking wow, you guys. It is so good. And then the number 1 palette, which I don't know if you guys saw this coming, but the Gourmand Girls Spooked palette, you guys. I picked this up with a gift card, and I am so freaking happy that I did, because this formulation is absolutely like knock your socks off, second to none. I've used by now pretty much all of the shades, and they are just so special. The mattes are similar to this, where like they are so pigmented, rich, they blend themselves, especially this dark purple. I was like truly like, wow, I have never applied a purple with so much ease. It was crazy. This also, I feel like, offers so much dimension. If you're someone that's like, oh, I would never use this color story because it's too loud, I've created neutral looks with this, and they are beautiful. Also, I don't really use red, but I created a red look with this that I absolutely loved. This is one that kind of, you know, challenged me a little bit to step out of my comfort zone and do something different. But also, if I wanted to remain in my comfort zone, I could do so because of the colors that it offers and the finishes. And I just think that, you guys, the shimmers in here are also so beautiful. Look how vibrant that they are. So pretty. This was a limited edition. I don't know if it is still available. If it is, I highly recommend that you pick it up. It is so good. I will attach the 3 Looks 1 palette that I did with it. But yeah, I truly, this is the first time I've tried Gourmand Girls, and now like they're hot and heavy on my radar. It's truly just beautiful, so easy to use, which I think says a lot because it is a more colorful, vibrant palette. And this white is so good too. Who is it? Angie always does like a white in her corner, but I've never had a white good enough for it to look good. This is the white. I've done it now. But so stinking beautiful. Whew. And yeah, those are me ranking all of the palettes that I tried in 2022. Like I mentioned, I tried 44 palettes as of, what's today? When am I filming this? November 26th. I went ahead and cut it off because, you know, otherwise it would be so long before I could film this because I just got a couple palettes in PR and then I just, you know, I'm going to be getting some in Boxy and Ipsy. But I really wanted to go through what I had because I don't feel like I would have enough time to really formulate my thoughts on those to add them to the ranking. So I just decided to go ahead and do it now. What I will say is next year, I definitely will not have tried this many palettes. The reason there were so many was because I bought a lot of palettes in 2021 that I didn't use or try or anything. So then in 2022, when I was like trying to really go through and bring my collection down, I used a lot of those palettes that had been sitting for like a year. So next year, I'm hoping to cut this number in half, if not even more, because I feel like because I tried so much shit, I wasn't able to really just love on the things in my collection that like I already really love. So next year, I'll definitely be trying way less. This number was crazy to me when I was going through. I was like, no wonder, because I had felt like, I was like, I feel like I'm always trying something new and I was kind of getting burnt out by that. And I just wanted to use stuff that I really loved and really liked. And I'm definitely going to be doing so much more of that next year because, I don't know if my plans for my 2023 Project Pan have already gone up. I will link it in this video. But there I'm chatting a little bit about my plan, and there will definitely be a lot less coming in, which is really exciting. So I can really just love on the things that I love, you know? But yeah, I hope that you guys enjoyed this video. I hope that it was helpful. Let me know, what were some of your top palettes that you tried in 2022? And what were some of the absolute duds? I'm genuinely curious. And of course, if you guys enjoyed this video, do be sure to give it a big thumbs up before you leave. It really helps my channel. And yeah, I will see you all in tomorrow's upload. Bye!